I was a DJ at WHBK at University of Chicago, and I met a fellow named Dave Waldman, who was also a DJ. And he took me out to see Taildragger because he was playing harmonica for him. And I was pretty amazed. So that was at Stella's Lounge, 309 South Pulaski, if I remember correctly. Pulaski and Van Buren. So that's the closest intersection. Just a little, real hole in the wall. And I'd never seen anything like it. I can't even remember if I was old enough to get in there or not. But it definitely didn't matter. He does the slow blues at A. He does the shuffle at A. He does Sonny Boy Williamson. A couple of Sonny Boys are always in G. And I noticed he sang at a lower volume in G. In A, he was like loud and powerful and strong. And in G, he kind of was more vocalizing. You know, it was very Sonny Boyish. He had his own take on Sonny Boy, his own take on Jimmy Reed, like a slow Jimmy Reed. He kind of sang it like it and also not like it. He was a great singer. A lot of people thought that he just yelled because sometimes maybe if he was overserved or overexcited and the PA was too loud, everything was loud. It was just loud. And I mean, the DJs between our sets were loud. Everything was just seemed to be constantly deafening sometimes. So sometimes he was just roaring, you know, because he was just mentally he was just turned up to 11. But when he did the Jimmy Reed and the Sonny Boy, he was more like calm and singerly. And when he did Muddy Waters, like key of E, then he was more. He had a unique take on the Muddy style singing. And like he even said, he goes, I want to sing like Howlin' Wolf as much as I can, and I can hit a little bit, just a little bit of Muddy Waters. But he kind of saw the world as like divided. You were either a Muddy Waters kind of guy or a Howlin' Wolf kind of guy. And
Cool.
you know, he was
Cool.
definitely a Howlin' Wolf kind of guy.
Was it a 2-guitar gig?
Well, let's see who was on. E.B. Jones was on guitar, and maybe Johnny B. Moore.
Yeah.
It usually was 2 guitars. I mean, the full classic ensemble thing, 2 guitars, harp.
Right.
And later on, like, you know, it switched down to 1 guitar a lot. Like I did a lot of shows with Dragger that was 1 guitar, harmonica. The main thing is you had the harp, and the guitar was more recording and lumps, you know. Or so I try to be in 2 places at once, you know.
Yeah.
If you can, you know. But he would have, I mean, before my time, not that long before my time, but before my time, he'd have like Hubert Sumlin and Eddie Taylor on guitars.
Oh, wow.
The ultimate yin-yang guitar team, and you can, you know, there's recorded versions of that, of not with Taildragger, but of them together. So that'd be perfect. One guy would color in, and one guy would be like. And so I developed a lot of my own little tricks when I played with them. I'd go like, that's an A7th. That's an A7th with a G in it. But you know,
Yeah.
I had to develop my own little things, just like everybody does. To because what do you do when somebody does 3 songs that are 20 minutes apiece, slow blues and A? Right?
Yeah.
Well,
You
are
gotta
gonna
get
do
creative,
them the exact
right?
same way each time?
Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't, man. You know. So I developed like 8 million 4-bar intros to the key of, but it can't be so different that you're playing it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're expecting it goes certain ways. So anyway, but there was a lot of slow blues today. He just like had an endless fountain of them, and then he had to.
Experienced.
I had no experience at all.
Wow.
And I didn't play with him right away. I sat in and I was terrible. And, you know, I kept coming back and sitting in. And he didn't even really like me that much at first. But he kept seeing me coming back and coming back. And, you know, as he said, often from the band said, I felt sorry for him. He goes, he had a little hat. You know, like, this little boy, he couldn't play shit, you know. And he had a little hat on. And I said, boy, you can't play no blues. And he just didn't look at me, you know. Like, that's what I did. I looked at him back like, I'll show you or what have you or whatever it was, and I just had to stick with it. And finally, about the time I was 24 or so, the time I graduated from school, about the same time I sort of got put in the band. Me and Ken Kawashima, who's known as Sugar Brown, who's in Toronto now, we were sort of learning it together, and like people like Dave Baldwin and Steve Cushing helped us. Illinois Slim helped us like learn what to do. Like Dave took me outside. Do you know the Muddy Waters bass line? I'm like, sure. What is it? No. Do you know it? And it's like he meant this. That, because it works, and song like "Say You Love Me, Darling." I like the way not just Taildragger, but different guys they wouldn't call it the song title that's on the record. They called it, the first line of the song, because it's like reciting a poem or remembering a poem. You say you love me, darling, please call me on the phone sometime. The song is called Long Distance Call. But it goes, but they might say, you say you love me, darling. So, but I think you do that at E. So. Say you love me, darling, that. So Dave taught that to me, like, in between sets, and then I sat in and I did it, trembling with nervousness. So, so it took a few years of just coming around. Whenever he played somewhere, I would go, because Dave was often playing harp with him. And finally he's like, you all right, man. And, what are you doing on such a night? And that was how I started. I was just like over the moon,
Yeah.
Scott Dirks was there a lot too. It was good time. So I just had to grow into it slowly and painfully, and he kindly allowed me to do so. I did. First one was in '96. It's for St. George. It's called Crawling King Snake with Rick Crayer, Twist Turner, Studebaker John, and Show. Bass player Show Komiya was on it. And anyway, that's what he did. Don't trust no woman. Don't trust no woman. Tell what I want. That people love that record, but it's hard to find. St. George, that was the label, put out by George Paulus, and George passed a while back, and that record never had a lot of distribution, but it's well worth it. It's got a great cover, and it's just hard hitting. But doing that record, George Paulus was like, sing like you're singing in a cotton field and stuff, like to Taildragger. They were really button heads a lot. They were both very, opinionated about what they wanted, and Taildragger was already set in his ways and doing it his way. So, but we made a good record, and that was the first time I ever worked with Rick Crayer, and he became a long time associate and mentor to me, and we ended up playing together a lot. It wasn't specific like put your hand here or there. It was just like put some smoke in it, God damn it, And I remember one time, he'd say make it low down and funky, but he didn't mean funky like funk music. He meant funky like put that grit in there, and simplify it, and put that grit in there and lay back in the pocket. He would say lay back in the pocket, and let the music happen. Don't force it, and take your time. And of course, he's not the only older blues guy to say take your time. That's what they all say, because it's really what you have to learn. And how can you take your time when you're 24 years old? Your brain isn't even fully formed until you're 26.
Yeah.
You got everything but the brakes. All this stuff to do, and you're all fired up to do it, and you have all this energy because you're on stage and you're nervous or whatever. But you got to be the opposite of that and just be way standing in the back.